everything is Rift Fuel if you can't use it. It's a weird way to play Hearthstone. It's also weird to do discovers and just remind yourself that like they're all temporary. So never think like this will be useful on a later turn. Later does not exist. There is only now.
Welcome to episode 513 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025 in the evening. Coming to you from Nomergon, Ohio, it's me, Edelweiss. From North Rend, Massachusetts, we have Wicked Good.
Hi.
From Teldrassil, California, we have Megasa.
Hello.
And from all around the world, we have you, dear listeners. This week's episode is brought to you by our producers, Number Theory, Crash, Beef Squatch, David P., Jeremy T., Bottlecaps, Grumpy Monk, The Burger Club, Kirk Regan, May, SSJ5 Goku, NY Kiwi, Spine, Proby1, and by our patrons of the week, Brian Davis and Joaquin Prange. You can go to patreon.com/CoinConcede to get perks like a thank you at the top of the show, bonus post-show content, early access to new episodes, one-on-one coaching sessions, and help support the show in the process. If you would like to support the show but cannot do so monetarily, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your podcast feed of choice, as it always helps other people find the show. So, Life and Ladder. I'll go first real quick. Been playing some Arena, fairly chill, not a ton of new developments. And then I went to visit my grandma and then go to a county fair at the same time as my sister and her family. She has 2 young sons. It's always fun. We live in the same city, but I do not see her enough just because, kids. But it was nice all going to the county fair with our cousins. Our cousins don't have kids, are not going to have kids, so I think my aunt also gets to sort of vicariously enjoy mine and my sister's children. Initially, the reason I was not going to go straight to Dayton, where my sister got an Airbnb, because we're going to go to a Renaissance fair on Saturday, it was because I was going to be watching my upstairs neighbor's kid, like I do once a week, so that he can do he works independently as a plumber. But they had COVID. So, was not going to risk catching that, watching the kid, didn't want to derail the trip. I still ended up not going directly to Dayton, but yeah, couldn't end up watching little Jonah. Tomorrow I'll be driving with my sort of stepdad and my daughter to Dayton for this Renaissance fair. It's nice because I have these costumes that are I used to go to Ren fairs pretty regularly as a kid, and I have all this stuff that I don't get to use so often anymore, and I finally get to use it. So that's fun. But it's so busy. Everything just feels like even busier when the lots of stuff you're doing involves a 2-year-old.
Yep.
So, and meeting up with a 8 or 10-month-old and a 3 or 4-year-old. So, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of kids. It'll be fun hanging out with my sister, but I don't get much of a break because then the following week I have a whole bunch of childcare stuff into Hearthstone Masters Tour. Yeah. So
that's no breaks. It's fine.
Yup. I think at the end of the month I'll get to chill a bit. But yeah, what's up with the rest of you?
Well, have a great time with that. I haven't been to a Renaissance fair for a few years, but I do have one outfit, and I wore that to sort of check out the LARP that my friend does in the LA area, which, fun fact, is the same one that Kibler does. Or actually, he does 2. It's one of the ones that Kibler does.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all trying to convince me. They were like, "Oh, you even have the outfit. You should come down and join us." And I was like, "I am a teacher. I cannot take one Friday a month off to drive down to LA."
Uh-huh.
They were like, "You can get subs." I'm like, not that often, but
have you worked in a school? You can just get subs is something that somebody who's never been a teacher says.
Yeah. I didn't play a lot over the weekend, so I did not climb to 11x, which I knew was going to happen because I was up visiting my mother-in-law, as I mentioned. And even though we kind of took it as a like, we're going to be super lazy and just chill weekend, like my husband bought a huge pork shoulder and we roasted it, and then we just like grazed on it and like sat and watched bad movies and just like did as little as possible. Looked at the gorgeous sea outside and the beautiful weather. But her internet is not very good. It's really out in the middle of nowhere, Northern California. And so I didn't even want to risk playing. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be connected long enough for a Firac Rogue game. This just doesn't seem like a good idea. So I did play a little bit when I got back, and I played some Quest Warlock, which we'll be talking about later in Decksplanations. So I'll leave that to that, but did pretty well with it. We'll leave thoughts about the meta to news. But I did collect the few little morsels of newness that I could find, but I have not tried out anything with any new cards yet, which does not make me remarkable at all in that. Although I did run into a little bit of experimentation when I was playing the Quest Warlock. Yeah, otherwise just getting into the hang of classes. As usual, the classes I was worried about are not the hard ones, and the classes I was not worried about are the hard ones. Because I've definitely learned, like, if you don't know why this class is going to be difficult at the beginning, like, watch out. If you know why already and you have a plan, it'll be fine.
Well, I mean, because if you've planned for it, then you've over prepared, and then it's not so hard. It's the ones that you think you're fine.
Yeah, it's like, this one's just study support. It'll be easy. It's like, well, there's a reason that we need this. So, well, it's all about rapport building at the beginning, especially when you have a one-on-one class. But there is the sort of specter of pacing in the background. You do need to keep up with pace because the parents are paying by the class. So they are understandably concerned about it, except for a few of them who have more money than God. Then the kids are concerned because they don't want to be in summer school. Even those ones, they'll still be like, okay, yeah, so we can finish the rest of this class where we still have like half a semester left over the summer, right? And it's like, sure. It's like, oh yeah, and by the way, we're spending like a month in France, and then we're doing like a week in the
Must
Caribbean.
Be nice.
And then they tell you that like after you've started the class, right? And it's like, oh my gosh. Well, the kid can do the homework while they're away. Never has worked ever. I've had this happen several times. At this point, admin just says no because parents will be like, yeah, we'll have internet. They can do it after we've been skiing or whatever. Not skiing for the summer, but the equivalent. I don't know. I don't go on month-long summer vacations to France, so whatever you do when you're doing this.
Well, I basically spent the weekend just like going to different various places where I can buy shiny cardboard, and which is every weekend. But I went down to this card show in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, which is about as lovely of a town as it sounds from the name. But one of the twins came with me because I don't know why, because she has no interest in cards, but she was something to do. So she's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go sit here on the bench and read comics on my phone while you go, rifle through cardboard. And I did that for a little bit, and I saw what I found what I was gonna find, and then so I should say that my daughter is 16, but she's like 5 feet on a good day. So she and we're all various forms of neurodivergent. That usually means looking younger than you are. So someone just walked by, saw her sitting on the bench, and handed her a pack of Pokemon cards. And she's like, what do I do with this? I'm like, well, I open it, I guess. It's it's the new set. I'm told there wasn't anything valuable in it. Like there was one fancy looking card that was like $1.50 or something like that. But it was funny because I've been watching a lot of this streamer called Beard Dad, who just like does his POV of selling Pokemon cards at shows. If you've seen the one with the girl Sophia, who like his chat like basically pays for whatever like the super rare card that she wants, like that's the guy. So I've been watching him, and it's like, oh yeah, people just come over and donate stuff, give him stuff to give out to kids. So it's like, oh yeah, somebody's just walking around with packs, just hands them out. Like, oh, here's a kid. Like, she's practically driving, but yeah, okay, sure, fine, whatever.
She might have to worry about being pulled over because they don't think she's 16.
Yeah,
I had a friend
that
who
maybe. Yeah.
had that issue because she was a tiny little blonde girl in a big red pickup truck.
Yeah.
And police would be like, there's no way. But she was.
Oh my god. Yeah. So also Hollow Knight is a good game, turns out. I played it again, I'm like halfway through, ahead of Silk Song, which comes out tomorrow as we're recording this. So I've been playing that on the train. And yeah, spent about an hour on a section because I didn't follow the walkthrough for this one area, and then found out that it was a really difficult area to traverse that I did, and then there was nothing at the end of it because I didn't look at the walkthrough. So that was fun. But as far as Hearthstone's concerned, I bought the Xalatat skin yesterday because it is very pretty, and
It is really pretty.
it has a hero power that turns into like a black hole when you press it, and it is very nice. And so I played a Plot of Protoss Priest yesterday, and that deck is still a deck. So I wish that there was a Control Priest that I could play. And I'm not saying this just because he's in chat, but I did go through Donkey's site, and I saw that Tic Tac had put together an Aviana Priest, and I saw the list, could not figure out what I was supposed to do with it because it wasn't running Champions of Azeroth. It was something else. And then I saw him, I just clicked into his stream from the site, and I saw that he had named the deck Bad. And I figured, okay, maybe I should just chill a minute and play some Protoss Priest and then let this settle out. And I think I made the right decision. As much as I want the Naviata Priest to work, I somehow did not allow myself to get baited by this one somehow. But I want to believe, but apparently it's just like everything else coming out of the mini set that it's experimentation time. We'll say that. But anyway, we got a little bit of news, and then normally we would talk about the new decks that you could play after the mini set, but since we couldn't find any, we're going to talk about Quest Warlock instead in Decksplanations today. But a little bit of news before we get there.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
Okay, so we have patch 33.4, which has many things in it. Many things. Obviously, we have the mini set. It is past September 2nd, so Day of Rebirth hatches on September 2nd. That is in the past, as you know. You can go buy it, either regular or golden, if you so choose, or if you open up packs now, the cards will be in the packs that you open. The regular mini set is $14.99 or 2,000 gold. The golden version is $69.99 or 10,000 gold with a bonus diamond copy of Beast Speaker Taka legendary minion. We have arena updates. So not just the pool, but the pool is changing as well. So the pool is changing to Lost City of Ungoro plus Day of Rebirth, Perils in Paradise, Festival of Legends, March of the Lich King, Murder of Castle Nathria, and Core. Escape the Underfell, which is the Warlock quest, has been removed from the draft pool, and good because that card is stupid in Arena. And for this season, the guaranteed legendary pick during the second redraft on loss in Underground Arena has been replaced with a normal draft pick. So you will not get a second legendary on your second loss in Underground. You will just get to redraft on loss the 5 cards, but they're all going to be non-legendary. They made a small improvement to Underground rewards at 9 and 11 wins. 9 wins now includes a guaranteed pack from the latest expansion. And 11 wins, instead of generating a random reward of either gold or 3 packs, players will now receive 1 guaranteed pack plus a random reward of either gold or 2 additional packs. You will definitely get at least 1 pack out of the 11 wins. I don't know if that's an improvement or not, depending on your point of view, but you know, I know that the arena players generally just want the gold more so than the packs, but they say it's an improvement, and I'm reading the notes as they lay on the patch notes. Battlegrounds, there are small battlegrounds tweaks. I'm sure that they're impactful, but we're not getting into that. There is the Day of Rebirth event, which went live with the mini set. So this has 4 Lost City of Ungoro packs, a golden Lost City of Ungoro pack, the Rebirth celebration card back, and a Rebirth coin, which is the very end of the track. The numbers on this event are quite high. The first first weekly quest, I think, is something like 300 cards. I forget, but
850, but there's plus things.
But yeah,
to
800.
it.
It's play 850 cards, but I know that the numbers are incredibly high. There are multipliers. I mean, you get additional if you're doing it in ranked standard. The quest, the quests themselves for the Day of Rebirth event clearly want you to play ranked standard, like pretty bad. But the numbers are tuned very high for what is happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can say they have been making them harder to complete. It used to be arguably quite easy, like a year ago or 2 years ago. It was very easy to just ignore the quests entirely. So I understand them wanting to make you have to pay a little more attention to the quests and encourage you to play a little bit more. But it's for people who are really engaged like we are, it's not that bad. I finished it just prepping Quest Warlock for the show. But for people who don't have time to play every day, right? Like you're just not going to be able to finish it very easily, and that makes it so that either you have to just sort of consciously give up on it, which would probably make you want to play less, or you just have that like FOMO and then you feel bad if you don't finish it. So, or it feels like work. Like all of those are, I think, not great outcomes for casual players. It seems like there's got to be a middle ground between like trying to encourage casual players to play a little more, which like is the idea, while maybe dialing it back a little bit. I mean, theoretically, it's all just extra stuff. You're not losing anything if you don't get it, but that's how it feels to a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
That you're losing out if you don't get it.
And if you're free to play, like this is your card economy. Like packs are valuable if you are free to play, and this is one of the ways you get them. But I brought up on the stream a post from Hearthstone Top Decks that this is where I was getting them confused, but this is what I was remembering. A daily quest, take 300 turns, ranked +3. Realistically, if you're playing in ranked, you have to take 75 turns, which is still a lot of turns.
Yeah, that's like if you go to 10 turns in a game, that's still like 8 games.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
not everyone wants to play decks that go 10 turns.
And some of those turns are longer when you inevitably run into somebody who's salty and rage quits in the middle of the game, and then one of those turns takes 2 of those turns take 75 seconds apiece, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know what the motivation is, but the numbers seem shockingly high, and even if you're saying ranked +3, that's still a lot. So I don't know.
Yes, I mean 75 turns. If you're going 8 turns in a game, on average.
So do these store the same way as regular quests? Not really, right?
You can have 1 daily stored, not up to 3. And I found the weekly quests on Hearthstone. So the first one is play 850 cards in traditional modes, ranked +1, Day of Rebirth +1, which good luck with that. So it's 425 if you're playing in ranked, which is a lot.
It's like 3 rogue games, realistically.
Maybe if you're playing Cycle, not if you're playing Fire. Summon, the second week will be summon or destroy 2,000 minions in traditional modes, ranked +1, Day of Rebirth +1, Death Rattle +1. So 1,000 minions if you're playing ranked, a little bit less if some of them have death rattles. And then the third week, Hatching Ceremony, is spend 1,000 mana in traditional modes, ranked +1, Day of Rebirth +1.
And I've got to say it, the other thing that's going to make these take a long time is the Day of Rebirth multiplier doesn't exist. Because people are not realistically playing new cards. Like, I've never said this, because mini sets are always, even if there's just like, usually some legendaries or something that are playable. Even low impact mini sets, it's been like, well, this is one of the best deals in Hearthstone. Just get the mini set with your gold, and it's worth it. And it really feels like this time, actually, you should just open packs and like if something becomes playable, craft that specific card. And I don't think that's ever been true before.
No. It's we were saying before the show, I cannot remember us going into, and again, granted, we're recording a day earlier than usual, in fairness, right? But I can't remember going into an episode we're recording right after a Miniset launched where we could not come up with like a list of decks to talk about. And like normally this is, hey, here's all the things you can play after the Miniset. The reason we're not doing that is because that's not a list. I mean, we could do that, but the segment would be very short. As in, we play the Decksplanations bumper, and then we go to Concedes.
Well,
Tic Tac says in chat that it is still better to get the mini set, even if you disenchant every single card, versus opening packs in terms of dust on average. So I guess there's that.
Yeah,
so
I mean, it
dust.
is like duplicate protection is a thing, and that will mark all those cards in as having been collected. So you won't open them accidentally if you're trying to get something that you haven't gotten from Lusted Evangoro at this point.
But you could also like just get the warrior legendary and call it a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had the warrior legendary randomly summoned by a Death Knight spaceship that had not gotten all the way up to as many health because they had to summon it early, and it was pretty good in that situation. And there is Enzo in our Discord who always makes an off meta like enrage thing work. I don't know if it works for anyone other than him right now. It might. He posted it in our Discord, but he was able to get the warrior legendary to work in a sort of dragon and rage and hit early legend with it yesterday. So that is at least possible for him. He plays a lot of games and he's very good at warrior, but also sometimes it is true, and he has gotten lists into the VS report before. But yeah, in terms of like, I made a quick list of things that I have seen. Earleg, who is a well-known off-meta priest, sent me a deck that I think they had titled Nonsense List, but I lost to it. Well, I won once against them and then ran into them again and lost, and it was just, they're always playing Tempo Priest and we're actually playing the new 2-mana spell from Priest, discover a 3-cost minion, summon a 2/2 copy of it. And that turns out to be pretty good if you get Bucket of Soldiers as a 2/2, and then you play another Bucket of Soldiers, and then you buff it. But you're not always getting that. The Bat Mask from Warlock, I think it's 8 mana. It summons 1/1 copies of a minion. There is a deck in Wild, the Boar Warlock, that completes the like Elwyn Boar thing using Bat Mask. You can do it as early as turn 6, apparently, although turn 6 is not that early in Wild.
Yeah. I was talking to Dawn about that in the Discord today because Dawn was playing it and they said, yeah, it wins by turn 6. I said, oh, okay, that's like a control deck in Wild then, basically, because like the game should be over before that, or they're going forever, one or the other. So
if you don't play Wild a lot and you're at lower ranks, then you can win with anything. So, and then the Egg of Kalos has been showing up. Well, one thing that's funny, but I don't think this is actually good. Because it's not consistent enough. There is a card in Paladin called Hellbat.
It is a 4-mana Terran mech for Paladin that I believe it gives +1 attack to your other minions, and if you have launched a starship this game, it gives +2 attack and rush to your other minions.
There we go. Thank you. So if you have launched a starship, then you have Egg of Kalos, then you can just run the Egg of Kalos and clear their whole board and then get the 20/20. However, this is not that early because you have to have launched a starship already. But it is kind of a funny interaction that you can, if they have a board, just run it in 5 times and then be done all at once. And then there was a post from No Hands Gamer. So therefore, I have seen variations on this deck a couple times in ladder today with a basically like Fire Rogue Death Knight edition with the Egg of Kalos and a Dissolving Ooze and Corpse Explosion. So you can proc the egg with Corpse Explosion, and then you can eat it with Dissolving Ooze and give it to anything, a hero power, whatever.
So my note is basically that I think this deck could have existed before. It's just no hands hadn't made it yet, but Egg does not need to be there. It is the only new card in the deck.
It's an emotional support egg.
It has presently one of the lowest mulligan win rates in the deck, but with a high keep rate, which I think means it just is not a keep. Perhaps it has a place in the deck, but it is not a keep. And I think more likely you can just put in a second Chillfall and Baron and call it a day. The Ooze, surprisingly, you would think that like, oh, well, if you're taking out Egg, why not take out the Dissolving Ooze? The answer is because you can get a surprising amount of burst out of it, I would think. You've got Stitch Giants.
Stitch Giants, yeah.
Right? Bunch of things that are free, big piles of stats that you can put on your charge hero power. You can even, if you get the 5 cost or 10 cost Elise location with summon a copy, you can do that on your hero power and then eat the big version to put on the original hero power, right? And do this kind of goofy doubling of the bonus you have there. And yeah, no egg needed.
Yeah.
Comment from TikTok who says it's funny for DK mirrors as the egg tanks leeches in the mirror.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
That could actually be relevant if you're seeing enough DKs, which there have been quite a few.
And I guess I just want to point out, like, especially if you're a newer listener, like, we're not normally this negative about new cards that come out, but it's also like we're not going to, we're not going to gaslight folks either. Like, this is remarkable in how little this mini set has landed. And normally I'm the one who says, hey, it's been 24 hours, give it a minute, let it cook. But people are trying to cook and nothing's catching. So, yeah.
I mean, if you want the harsh takes, right, listen to the latest VS. I believe it was recorded before the cards were even out and has not proven false.
He speaks his mind, Zacho. But yes. He has tweeted that he's never seen a mini set with less impact than this mini set.
I mean, none of us have. Yeah.
It's unprecedented. I can't. I mean, we've been, I've been on this show for what, 3 years now. You've been on the show, Magesa, for 2 years. Edel for more than that. I've been doing. I did Off Curve for a while before that, and like. These types of these content launches are generally very predictable for us. If you want to go a little inside baseball, like we know what we're going to talk about, like the week of a mini set reveal, we know what we're going to talk about the week after a mini set reveal. And then we suddenly had to figure out what we're talking about this week because we couldn't. And that's notable, but we'll see what happens. Certainly we're going to get a balance patch. I don't even know what that's going to look like, but that'll be interesting, but we'll get through that. But anyway, there is more. Oh, we haven't even gotten through these patch notes yet, and there's still stuff. Yeah. So there's also going to be a Hallow's End special event that starts on September 23rd, going through October 14th. It's going to have 2 Lost City of Un'Goro packs, 2 Lost City of Un'Goro commons, 2 Lost City of Un'Goro rares, 2 Lost City of Un'Goro epics, a random Lost City of Un'Goro legendary card, and the Nightmare Zale Hearthstone hero skin, which is for Warlock.
I'm not likely to finish this because the third quest in that chain, weekly quest, is heal for a total of 325 health, bloated leech +1, lifesteal +1. I'm just gonna have to take the week off because everyone's playing Blood Decay.
you can play Priest though,
I can play Priest. There is Ziliax if I play like Fyrak Rogue. Get there eventually. Anyway, it's still large quest numbers. That's all.
It's going to be big. I mean, they might tweak it between now and then for all we know. But yeah, they're big quest numbers.
They do give you a legendary at the end of it, though.
They do. And this is also another reason that you might want to just pay for the mini set with gold, because you're going to get those random cards that if you have not already opened them, could be from the mini set. So the ladder ready decks are the new name for the loaner decks because the decks weren't always loaned to you. They're decks for new and returning players. They're getting updated with patch 33.4. If you have not been playing for 90 days, or you just started a fresh account, you'll be eligible for a deck when you log in after you complete the tutorial and the apprentice track. They usually have some legendaries in them, and they're generally a deck from the last meta, but given where we are, maybe that's just fine to take to ladder right now. Who knows? You can go take a look through those and see which one appeals to you if you are coming back to the game or coming to the game for the first time. Also, welcome, and we're glad to have you listening, even if we've been a little negative up to now. There are Void Touch cosmetics in the shop. This is because they just announced the new World of Warcraft expansion, which is called Midnight, which is has Void stuff, I am told. And so that's where the Xalatath priest skin is there, along with some other things. If you are interested in such things, they are in the shop. Again, the Xalatath priest skin is very good. It is much better than the last diamond skin that they tried to make for priest. So
it's so good. I have in general been sort of holding the line because of the Darkmoon Faire stuff.
Same.
But
this got me.
It may get
it's very
me
good
imminently as well. It's one of the. I'm like bummed that it's a priest skin because it's like this might be my favorite in the game.
I mean, it's about time that we got. I mean, I will give credit where credit is due when they're selling a good cosmetic for a reasonably fair price, which $25 is a lot, but it's for what you are getting. It is reasonable. I think that because clearly a lot of work went into it, and it is very good skin. There's not too much movement. It's got some really cool animations. The voice lines are great. Like, it's a very, very good skin. I will say that.
I'm a sucker for hero power animations too. So when there's a good hero power animation, like, that gets me.
I have held the line on only doing like non-diamond, non-legendary hero portraits, just like normal ones, maybe just a tiny bit of animation, right? This one might get me. I haven't gotten it quite yet, but it's real good, and it's priest. So
you're going to get use out of it. So that's the thing. And like this is the only diamond skin I own, and it may continue to be, but it was very good. But there's one particular Void Touch cosmetic that's not in the shop that is going to make me play this.
Time is money, friend.
So Darkmoon Faire treasures are back. Yay. So there is a new pet called Rabbitath, who is a bunny and can be yours for the low price of $158 when you go into the Darkmoon Faire to try to pull her. It is pretty much unchanged from the last time. The odds are the same. It is still a 0.1% pull rate on the free pull, and it is still weighted so that you are very likely going to have to pull 10 times and spend $158 to pull it. They had asked at the time for feedback. I think we of the community have provided them fairly overwhelming amount of feedback. I know I personally have, outside of, in the more official channels that we have access to in the creator program, I have provided them detailed feedback. And apparently people bought it because it's exactly the same and nothing's changed.
I ran into a number of King Crush pets today. I mostly haven't seen a ton of them, but for some reason today. It is cute. If you genuinely wanted all of that stuff, then it's not a terrible deal. But if you only want the pet, and also we talked at length about how the deceptiveness is the real problem, and just, you can't get it for a reasonable amount of money without all the extra stuff. But I did calculate that another way that one could spend $158 is to buy Silk Song, Hades, Hades 2, Blueprints, Balatro, Slay the Spire, FTL, and Emerge Maestro, which is a fun little iPhone game.
Oh man. I mean, when you say it like that, whew, that's an all-star lineup right there.
Yeah, I mean, those are any game you haven't played out of that list. Those are some great indie games. Now, of course, comparing a live service game to indie games on Steam is always going to come out poorly, but that was the most like it's a lot of money.
I mean, I guess if we're also going to be fair, you could also buy one Final Fantasy Magic Collector Booster for that amount of money, and
Sure,
you know,
sure.
so
There.
Yep.
So you know,
at least
for
we're not
what
Magic?
it's worth. Yeah.
Or 1.5 COVID vaccines with my insurance, apparently.
Yeah.
That hurt.
Actually, technically, the Final Fantasy boosters are only $125. So, you know, that's even a deal, I guess, compared to that. But you can also resell the contents of that, assuming that you pull anything. So it's more of a lottery ticket than this. Anyway, we don't need to get into that. But anyway, I do wonder if this will be received as well. I am morbidly curious because there's already wallet fatigue. There's only so many times you can go back to the well for something like this, and they just did this like a month and a half ago. And also, this is not a beloved character. Like, King Crush is a character that has been in the game since the beginning. It is something that players of this game have a lot of affinity for. Nobody knows Rabbitath. It's just a bunny. And I do really wonder if people are going to shell out the money for that, having already gone through this once.
So this is interesting. I would rather this one than Crush, right? Like if I were to, money no object, just pick which one I'm more interested in, I'm more interested in the new thing that isn't a dinosaur. Because it's cute. Like the point of pets is just like a cute thing that's on your board. Just give me one that's not premium. that doesn't have its own end screen special animation and move around so much. That's just like $15, and I'll give you the microtransaction, right? Like I feel like so many other games have nailed this, right? Teamfight Tactics, right? In terms of there's like you always have your sort of pet equivalent, but it has cosmetics for itself. Magic Arena, they have pets, and it's like they run a sliding scale, right? From like cheaper ones to fancier, more expensive ones. Nothing remotely close to this. But like, why make something exist only as an ultra premium? And with the gacha mechanic, I just don't understand. And particularly when you said, "Hey, we're getting rid of this stuff that everyone had access to, game boards, for free for something really exciting we've got them working on, these pets." And people are like, "Oh, well, that does sound cool. Okay." And then.
Yeah. And I'm thinking back to like Diablo 4, right? Where they didn't have pets in the game originally. And then it was the same thing, right? Where people were really, they'd had pets in previous Diablo games. They didn't have pets there. And then they did introduce pets, and they're a premium cosmetic. I don't think they're that premium, but they're premium. But also, hey, when you pre-ordered the first expansion, guess what you got? You got one of the pets. Hey. Mm-hmm. And then you got a taste of it, and then you could go into the premium shop and buy different ones if you wanted to, but you got a boring one to start with. And I don't know. This is one of many business related decisions that they're making for the game. That's just, I'm sure there's some reason to it. I'm sure it makes sense somewhere, but it's not making sense to us as people who cover the game. It just, I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
it's
that
clearly
thing of,
it clearly made money the first time because they're doing it again. So
right, exactly. I mean, I guess I don't know how many they had planned and made already, right, before they
yeah,
launched. But
presumably it was more than one because it took them a year to launch it, and they weren't doing that all for just one pet. But
it would lessen, I think I said this before, but it would lessen the blow of the like gacha is toxic somewhat if every time they did this, it was like everything you can get is a degree of pet, right? Like that there are different tier, different quality of pets with varying amounts of animatedness or other things, right? And you roll to see which one that would still, you know, I'm sure garner complaints and we would still not be the best thing, but at least like everyone who wants a pet can get a pet.
anyhow, so do what you will with this information. We're reporting on it because it's in the patch notes and because it's been a topic of conversation, but we are obviously not advocating that you go and spend $158 on this. But just saying it so that you are aware that it is the same and that you can do your free roll, but just don't get your hopes up. Bug fixes and game improvements, pretty much just visual bugs that were addressed in this patch. Pretty much across the board. So that nothing we're really going to dig into. There are some known issues that have come out of this patch, as one would expect. One of them was significant enough for them to have disabled ranked standard for a couple of hours yesterday. So Lie in Wait, which is the rogue quest, has been banned in ranked modes. I don't even know if it's banned in casual. Also, it might be. But they say that it's banned in ranked standard, wild, and tavern brawl. So I don't know if you can play it in casual. Who knows? But apparently there was a bug that was very seriously affecting games, so they have banned it, and then they're going to fix it. And once they fix it, they'll return it to the pool. Similarly, they've banned Whizbang the Wonderful and Wild for similar reasons. So I'm guessing that's because, well, I don't know if they update the deck recipes for Whizbang anymore, but if they did, then it could have one of the quests in it, and then that would cause the same problem over again, just in Wild.
And there might be some randomness, like Whizbang could generate it. I don't know. Anyway, just have to wait a little bit for Whizbang if you are the Whizbang person.
Yep. Frostmourne has also been banned in Arena because its legendary bucket was empty, and that seems bad. So they're going to return it when it's got some cards in its bucket. They're investigating reports of Elise the Navigator causing disconnects with dark gifts. I would assume that means when she has a dark gift applied to her, as opposed to, I mean, that must be the way that it is, because she can't give anything dark gifts. That must be the way that it is. And if you bought the Golden Emerald Into the Emerald Dream mini set, well, sorry, but also you may not have, just to add insult to injury, you may not have received the Diamond Fire Rack out of that, which is a fairly good reason to buy the Golden mini set, to be fair. But yeah, so if you did that, they're going to be making you whole with that, but you may not have gotten that right now.
That's weird. That's the previous mini set. So like a new bug with the previous mini set.
Yeah, that's not even this one. That's the last one. Yeah, I don't. Okay. Unless they're buying it now.
Well, right. Okay. Yeah, I assume that's what it is.
I guess you're never too old to become a whale, I guess. Okay. All right. So, yeah, that's news. And we're going to go talk about the hot new deck from the mini set, Quest Warlock. So, yeah, let's do that.
All right. Well, this is maybe hot new deck from the mini set, but it is arguably the hot new deck from the expansion. Quest Warlock, which has gotten increasingly visible and popular, I would say, and really settled on like 29 cards out of 30. What I have here is just the Vicious Syndicate list that includes Kerrigan, and this is a solid popular list. Some people I've seen tried Kill Jaden in that spot. I played one with Royal Librarian, which I think is like literally just for starships, but I did have better luck with the Kerrigan, even though the Royal Librarian was helpful occasionally. You know you're desperate, though, when you're playing Royal Librarian, just in general. So if you have not seen a lot of Quest Warlock, basically we are trying to complete the quest, Escape the Underfell. We have to play 5 temporary cards, and then when you do, you get the quest reward, which is a 3-mana spell that will summon a portal on your board. When you click the portal, you feed it a card from your hand, and then you will summon 2 Fell Beasts that can either be a 3/5 Reborn Taunt, a 5/3 Rush Lifesteal, or a 4/4 Elusive Charge. You get 2 out of 3, 2 different ones out of the 3.
And it cares about what's on your board, so if you have one of them on your board, you should get the other 2.
So the only way that you can get duplicates, I actually didn't realize that. That is very helpful. Helpful to know. So you can sometimes be guaranteed, and even if you have an empty board, then you know you have a like 2/3 chance of getting whichever particular one that you want. And any of them can like help you survive. So in this deck, we are trying to complete the quest as fast as possible. It doesn't really matter who you're facing, whether it's aggro or control. You are trying to complete the quest as fast as possible because that is what makes your deck really good. And some of your cards are useless at that point. That's fine. You just feed them into the portal and you get really good Fell Beasts out of it. So for example, we are running 2 Sketch Artists to tutor 1 Solarium. That is fine. 2 tutors for 1 card, that is fine, because the Solarium is that good, and after we've gotten the Solarium, we've probably completed the quest, and so we can just toss the other one into the portal. The Solarium, if you don't remember, is 1-mana spell. Draw 3 cards. They are temporary. That, of course, is an older card that got updated to use the word temporary on it. So ideally, you're getting 2. If you get really lucky, 3, or if it's later in the game. But hopefully it's not later in the game. You can get the quest. If you draw well, you can get the quest done. Like, play the quest on 5. Not infrequently. Tex in the Discord said that he was able to complete the quest on 3 once, although I don't think play the quest reward, but that is unusual. However, 5 is not that unusual. The Solarium is very helpful there. Also helpful is Blood Petal Biome, which is the location, 1-mana location that gives you a 1-mana, you discover a 1-mana minion that's temporary. And Cursed Catacombs, 0-mana spell that discovers a card from your deck that is temporary. And Sweetened Snow Flurry is not as good early game, but it is your other way to get temporary cards, and it is better late game if you need to give you things to do. Sweetened Snow Flurry is the 3-mana elemental with miniaturize, and so both it and its mini give you 2 random frost spells with temporary.
Yeah. If anyone watched the playoffs, right, this was a somewhat frequent bring, a little bit different list-wise. There tended not to be Sweetened Snow Flurry. There was not Kerrigan. The lists were a bit lower to the ground, sometimes with a Health Stone. I don't know if that maybe shifts how people play Sketch Artist. With the lower curve, you definitely saw people in the event like play a Sketch Artist on 4 and play the temporary Solarium and just like hope for 0 cost stuff, right?
It's still 1 tick on the quest, right? And your deck is arena commons. So like you don't, if you whiff on all 3, then it's not that big of a deal. And you do have things like you have 4 0-cost spells in the deck. You have 2 copies of Cursed Catacombs. Even if you're just tutoring something out that you don't want, then you can just get rid of it if you don't have the mana to pay for it. If you're getting it off of Solarium, and Wisps are in there so that when you Solarium, you can just drop them onto the board and get the ticks up.
Yeah, I was using if I played Sketch Artist on 4 mana or on 3, but I had played the Spelunker, which is the 2 mana 2/3 that discounts your next temporary card by 2 on any turn, I would just play the extra Solarium, not expecting to play anything off of it, just as a tick. And then the turn after, I would play the regular Solarium. Maybe not if I was facing a Death Knight, but possibly even then. You just want to get to your quest as fast as possible. Maybe if I knew that I had another way to finish the quest, like I also had a bunch of other stuff. I also had a Blood Petal biome that was going. Blood Petal biome's very useful, right? Like a curve that's really nice with this is quest on 1, Blood Petal biome, click it, play the temporary 1 cost on 2. Actually, I thought the ideal curve, then like on 3 you play Cursed Catacombs and you can pick whatever you want almost. There's only one way on this list to whiff Cursed Catacombs in 3 mana. whiff completely, because there's 2 4 cost cards and an 8 cost card.
And the decks that are cutting Kerrigan are usually cutting it for something cheaper, so then you remove that possibility entirely.
Yeah, so you can play Cursed Catacombs on 2. If it's temporary and you have no mana, just play it, it's fine. But if 3, you're definitely going to be able to play something that you get off of it. So you like do that, and then you get like a temporary Sketch Artist or something, and then like on the next turn you play Solarium, and like, that's kind of a dream curve. But in general, any time that you can pick on and discover or find anything that gets you a temporary card, that's what you want to do. Or if you don't have temporary cards, you want to draw. There's surviving if you need to, like with Hellfire or something like that if you're facing aggro, but your best tool against aggro is still complete the quest, because then all of the Fell Beasts help you survive. You've got a Rush Lifesteal, that's great. You've got a Reborn Taunt, that's great. Even the Charge, like Charge is Rush. Also, you can attack minions with a Charge minion. So that can help you survive too. Or just put on counter pressure, so then they have to start trading. And then you have, once you complete the quest, you have quite a bit of burn actually to help you finish, Corpsicle being the main example there. You build up quite a few corpses with this because you have a lot of like dumping your hand little minions, and then once you complete the quest, you get 2 things out of it every turn. And so Corpsicle can do a surprising amount of damage. Hellfire is non-trivial on that front sometimes. Sometimes the Sweetened Snow Flurry gets you burn. Kerrigan is a little bit of burn if you're playing her. Horizon's Edge can do quite a bit of face damage as well as clearing the board depending on what you're facing. So,
Sweet Snow Flurry can also get you more Corpsicles. Because if you play the temporary Corpsicle, it will put a permanent copy back into your hand, assuming you have the three corpses to pay for it.
Yeah, so I've ended up with like 3 Corpsicles. You can also get more Corpsicles with Tidepool Pupil. The cute thing to do with Tidepool Pupil is to get an extra quest. However, if you end up with one in your opening hand, I found though that like you don't even really have board space for 2 quests.
No. And you also don't have that many things that make temporary cards to be able to complete it easily the second time.
Yeah, I think more often, and still pretty infrequently, than like picking the quest and trying to complete the quests entirely a whole second time, is that if it just so happens that you play the quest reward while you have an unfilled pupil, then you can choose the quest reward and play a second one. And that can be quite powerful. It does get clunky board space wise. You are a little bit scared of Bob, but largely it is so overwhelming, right? Because you are getting just like a lot of stats and keywords turn after turn that can really cause people problems and fuel your Corpsicles and everything. We definitely saw that a couple of times in the playoffs, and it is extremely potent and hard to deal with.
That's fair. I think I just wouldn't cripple your game earlier aiming for it. Right.
Correct.
Like if you're going to change one play because then you get it and then you pick it, that could be really powerful, especially if you have a lot of cards in hand. But you can also use, get another Corpsicle from it if it's later in the game, or like another Cursed Catacombs in early game can be clutch. Even just another coin can be totally useful to be able to finish the quest faster, just to have a little extra mana to play something else from your Solarium, for example. So, or get another Solarium. You kind of whiffed on your first one, but it went into a pupil, just try again. Or another Hellfire against something aggressive. So it's a flexible card. You don't need to like change your play around it too much, unless it's easy and not really out of your way.
Yeah, this isn't a combo deck where you're trying to put specific things into the type pool pupil. It's just more stuff. And worst comes to very worst. If you have garbage in there, then you take one of the pieces of garbage and you throw it into the rift.
Yep. Everything is rift fuel if you can't use it. It's a weird way to play Hearthstone. It's also weird to do discovers and just remind yourself that like they're all temporary, except for the Tide Pool Pupil. They're pretty much all temporary. So never think like this will be useful on a later turn. Later does not exist. There is only now. Speaking of, there's definitely kind of orders that you do things in. So before you've completed the quest, anything where you don't know the outcome of what you might discover or what you might draw, you do that first, right? So you would play Solarium first before you Cursed Catacombs, and you would like Cursed Catacombs before you Blood Petal Biome, because Blood Petal Biome, you don't know what you're going to get, but you know it's going to cost 1 mana. So you do that when you have 1 mana. I would say do the first tick on the Blood Petal Biome as soon as possible. But the second one, if you don't have mana to play it on the turn that it reopens, like not all that infrequently, it would reopen. I'd play it on turn 2, use it. It reopens on turn 4, but I'm like playing Solarium and don't have mana for it on turn 4. That's fine. I will use it and play the 1 cost thing on 5. That completes my quest. Then I play the quest on 5. So you don't have to use the second tick immediately, but you should probably use the first one. But in general, like Blood Petal Biome, you use that last because you can plan on the amount of mana, whereas like Solarium, you cannot plan on the amount of mana in the same way, especially with the Sweet and Snow Flurry list. And Snow Flurry, you really can't plan on the mana. Wicked did put in the probability distribution here. There's a 5% chance of getting a 0 cost. I assume that's just the refresh DK.
Yeah.
A 5% chance for a 1 mana.
Which is Seabreeze Chalice.
Isn't there also the Go with the Flow from Mage?
Oddly, not Frost.
Oddly not Frost? That is weird. Okay, so Seabreeze Chalice. 37% chance of getting a 2 cost, 16% chance of getting a 3 cost, 16% chance of getting a 4 cost, and 16% chance of getting 6 or greater, so like Blizzard or Tsunami.
Or Frostworm's Fury, apparently. But yeah.
Frost.
Or actually, is that discoverable? That might not. I might have gotten that wrong.
I believe
that's
it's not
that's not generatable. So it's actually less than that to get.
So it's actually like 10%.
You will sometimes get a Blizzard and a Tsunami, and you'll be sad. Depending on when it is, right? If it's early, you're going to be sad. If it's later, then that's okay, fine. Just toss it into the Rift, fine.
I did have one game where I was really hoping for a Blizzard because it was a DK and they had a whole board of leeches. I was like, that was my one out, was a Blizzard in the later game.
But the general moral of the story is that if you need to get something off of the Snow Flurry, and you don't always, sometimes you're playing the 3 cost one just to get a body down, and then you'll hopefully get something off the 1 cost one later. But you want to have at least 2 mana to spare, because you are more likely, and I think if you add in the 0 and the 1, is probably closer to 50% odds of getting something that is 2 or less, but it is incredibly unlikely that you're going to hit something that costs less than that. So you want to make sure you have 2 mana. You're planning with 2 mana to spare if you want to play at least one of those cards, and you probably want to have 4 mana to spare if you need to hit both. You're not always going to, but at least you want to plan for it.
If you've played the Spelunker, that counts as 2 mana.
Right, that's true too. Yeah.
I wouldn't play... So if you have any other temporary stuff, early game I'd play that before Snow Flurry. But you can play if you have nothing better to do, because you've just whiffed on all your temporary stuff, besides Sweet and Snow Flurry. Like, you can get the first one down, and then the mini, because it only costs 1, you're a lot more likely to be able to play stuff off.
Yeah. And sometimes
So
you draw
can
it off
set
a
up.
Solarium and you just need to get it down, right? Because it's better than not playing it, and you just deal with it, and maybe you hit a Horn of Greed and you're lucky. But it's mainly just like, that's one of the things you learn as you're playing the deck, that like how much mana you need to have, and you want to plan for at least 2 to 4 depending on how many ticks you get. Because if you do this with 1 mana left open, you're going to be sad most of the time.
Yeah.
And ice cream's supposed to make people happy, not sad.
So in general, Cursed Catacombs, you want you can do it with 1 mana if you're feeling lucky and you feel like you need to be a little bit lucky. But if you want to be on the safe side, 2 mana or even 3 mana, and then you can do other stuff with the rest of your turn. Solarium, I would recommend with this list at least, having 3 mana free after you play it, unless it's just the temporary tick. But if you're playing the non-temporary Solarium, I would probably recommend having 3 mana open, because then in general you can play 2 things, and you can at least play 1 thing. And you're very unlikely to just not be able to play anything. I did have that happen once. I drew 2 Horizon's Edge and Summoner Dark Marrow, and I was like, really? I can't play any of them? But like, that's extremely unlikely. Dark Marrow, you may notice, by the way, there are no death rattles at all for Dark Marrow. That's fine. Corpsicle and Horizon's Edge are really good. And we just toss them into the Rift. Dark Marrow, very safe toss into the Rift later.
Yep. Kerrigan, I think, is actually quite an interesting development. I was somewhat skeptical of putting an 8 mana card in the deck, but I think it's sort of like so many things, it's like, well, if it gets, burned or made temporary, lost, whatever, okay. But if not, then you have this hero power switch that's sort of fine, because you have mass production, right? And sort of the end game of this deck, if you're really having to go long, is you've just played a bunch of mass productions, and that's what you are feeding into the portal, gaining your life back from the 5/3 rushes. And so Kerrigan gives you a hero power that you can actually use, and sometimes those 2/5s get protected by all your reborn taunts, and so they can actually stay there kind of a while and give you either sort of more fuel for the location, or like more Zerg to make the hero power better. I mean, the one where it's like attacks deal a damage or 2 if it's a Zerg minion, like, is pretty good.
Yeah, there were actually some good hits off of that. So you don't necessarily actually want to toss those into the Rift immediately, because they change every turn. If you have something else good to toss in, you could wait and see if you get a good Zerg off of it.
Sometimes you just want a Viper. Sometimes you just need a Dirty Rat, and that's good enough,
Although do remember that only Zerg minions attack in, but sometimes you don't care, you just want it out of their hand. Yeah, you don't even care if it dies. So let's see. In terms of what you're feeding in, so when you're feeding the portal, in general, you want to do that early in the turn so you know what you get, unless you know for sure what you're going to get because you already have something else. So you have like 1 reborn taunt, you'll know for sure you'll get the rush and the charge. However, you don't necessarily want to feed the portal first. First of all, if you're going to Hellfire, you probably want to do that first before you, not always, but often, before you summon your things. Second of all, you might want to find out like what you get off of Cursed Catacombs or what you get off of Blood Petal Biome or something first, and then maybe feed the temporary card in to the portal, because temporary cards are not resources after the end of the turn, so if you're not going to play it, you should feed it in. Or like if you're going to play a Snow Flurry, play that before you activate the portal so that you can see if there's a spell you don't want to play, you feed that into the portal. But then in general, after doing that, then you activate the portal to see what you get, then you plan the rest of your turn.
Also make board space. You may need to make board space for the
yes.
2 minions. So that's another thing to keep in mind before you throw something in.
That is very important. I have definitely forgotten to do that before. Especially if you're counting on getting like, oh, I need the lifesteal rush in order to survive. Like, make sure you get 2 shots at it, you know?
Yeah. It may be the kind of thing where you may want to, like, if you have a lifesteal rush and you need 10 life, you might want to trade off the lifesteal rush so you get another one, right? Because if you're leaving that on board and then you feed the rift, you're not going to get that. So there are some things like if you need charge damage, maybe that's a little bit harder to get rid of. But if you're going face, but
maybe
it's
if you're
something
clearing
just
a
think
taunt
about.
minion,
Yeah.
like run your charges into the taunt minion first, then you're going to get another charge after you do that. Might be a situation where that comes up. And yeah, and in general, the order that you feed cards into the portal, and if you have a temporary card you're not going to use, always do that. As long as, it's not better. Sometimes it is better to play it, but if you're not going to play it, feed that in. Dark Marrow, useless. I mean, he's a 4-mana 4/4. If it's really late and you have nothing else to do with your mana, you can play him, but I don't think I've ever played him. He just gets fed in.
Dark Marrow is basically Yuna from Final Fantasy X in this deck.
Whoa! Whoa! Oh my goodness. Shots fired. That is... I object. She's great.
Listen, sometimes you need to battle Sin, and that's what you're doing.
Oh, you didn't like the summons?
I'm just saying what happens. I'm not saying I'm not saying I don't like her. I'm saying that based on what happens in that game, that's...
You're not saying like party composition wise, or are you?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying like never put her in the party.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Talking about the plot. I'm spoiling Final Fantasy X, which is like a 30-year-old game at this point. So,
yeah.
25 years old, whatever.
Dark Marrow is the skitty that I had in Pokemon Ruby, which is the cat Pokemon. I thought it was cute, and I took it with me everywhere, and it is a terrible Pokemon, and I should not have been actually playing it.
Now I know what to look for next time I go to the card shows. Okay, good.
So yeah, Dark Marrow, safe, and the sketch artists, once you have drawn Solarium, are just fodder as well. So then sometimes you do have to make an actual decision of what to throw in. Wisps, I would not save them for fuel early in the game. Like, just play them if you draw them early. It's a 1/1 on the board for free. Just play it. But if it's late in the game, then that's often good fuel. Glacial Shard, sometimes in a matchup it's important to use. Other times you can just feed it. But in general, I wouldn't save a card that's useful earlier in the game just to be fuel later. Unless you're about to complete the quest. And generally, so your cards are not that valuable. Don't be afraid to just let them go. You can always do the thing that people used to suggest with tracking back in the day, back when tracking used to discard the other cards. Just pretend it was at the bottom of your deck. You were never going to play it anyway. Right. You have to fight past the loss aversion of oh no, I'm losing a resource, and instead think of the opportunity cost. Right.
Which is really just with regards to Solarium, right? Because in general, if you're using Biome, if you're using Cursed Catacombs, you're going to be able to play what you pick. I guess Sweet and Snow Flurry too, but I think people get it in terms of that. But yeah, Solarium, when you play it normally, and particularly if you're just playing the temporary copy from Sketch Artist, you're just getting your ticks. It's okay.
And mass production also is kind of designed. It's in the deck to continue to fuel the rift, but you do want to be careful that you have enough copies left in your deck to continue to do that. So you want to make sure you have at least one in your deck at all times. If you don't, then you probably want to play it and then throw away one of the other cards, which might be another mass production. And where the reason this works is because you're often going to get the lifesteal rusher. So if you're taking 3 damage to play a mass production, but you're gaining back 5, you're still ending up net positive. But that's kind of when you're getting into a longer game, this is why you don't really need to worry about fatiguing out or running out of value, because you have the mass production to keep your deck full infinitely with with more things that you can throw into the Rift, but just do be aware that it is possible to run out of them if you are not being careful about the remaining contents of your deck.
And also with no Hearthstone, like you do really have to hit the lifesteal to stay topped off. Definitely had a game today where I just like 3-4 turns in a row did not hit lifesteal. It was against a Triple Frost Death Knight and was like, I mean, I don't know what. Unlucky, I guess. Like they weren't connecting face with any minions because I had taunt every time. But yeah.
It does. That is true. That can happen. We are definitely relying on the lifesteal rush, which is part of why I said if you're facing aggro, you still are just trying to turbo complete the quest, because that is your healing. That is how you get back in the game. So, you might take one turn to Hellfire, a big aggro Demon Hunter board. I did do that today instead of playing the Sketch Artist, and then played the Sketch Artist on 4. Played the Temp Solarium with it on 4, and then played another Solarium on 5. Like, it slowed me down slightly. But it was worth it, because otherwise I would have died.
Not dying is a valid reason, yes.
However, unless you're literally going to die, you are going for the swing back against aggro. And the main thing that we lose to is like Starship decks or like slow decks that start putting out just a ton of value that we can't, like a ton of stuff on the board later in the game that we just can't deal with.
Yeah, biggest thing the deck loses to is a massive board swing, right? Like if they are able to deal with what you have in play while also representing a huge amount of stats, right? Or sometimes if the stats are so huge they don't even have to deal with what you have in play. It's just like they launched their starship and now their board is filled with 10 drops. Oh no, right? Like that's one of the bigger counters. Rogue, I think, has a kind of even matchup because they can sometimes do that sort of flip with Fire Rack or something like that.
Good thing is that Ashamane's bad against you because your deck is full of crap.
Ashamane is hilariously bad against us.
Yeah, it's pretty garbage. It's like, have some mass productions. Yeah.
Hit yourself more for me and then you're in range. I had a lot of games where the Corpsicles are helping me get over the line as that burn damage at the end. If you have a big board swing coming, you want them to be in range of the burn when they do it. Or dead beforehand. But if they can't be dead beforehand, you want them to be dead to your burn that turn. And you can play Corpsicle, by the way, when it's not yellow. If it's lethal, it doesn't matter if you get it back the next turn. So
it's like the old Frozen Touch. God, I miss that card. Oh my goodness. Yeah, in Mage, for those who were not around, Nathria was the infuse mechanic, which was, you get a certain number of minions to die, and then the card becomes infused. Frozen Touch, 2 mana spell for Mage that did 3 damage, and it had infuse 3. You get an uninfused copy back to your hand. Part of why I like Corpsicle so much is that it reminds me of that card, but the downside to Corpsicle is you can't play multiples in the same turn. Whereas with Frozen Touch, if you had a board, you could like cast it for your 3 damage, get the uninfused copy, trade in 3 minions, it's infused again, and then you play that. It's good times.
Yep. That was a lot of burn. Yeah, so here I was mostly doing that, like playing the Corpsicle without the corpses if I had like an extra one from a Tidepool Pupil, or I had drawn both of my Corpsicles, or I got an extra one from Snow Flurry, which happens not all that infrequently. So, one Corpsicle, it's easy to get 3 corpses a turn. You start with a bit of a bump by the time you start playing them. Multiple Corpsicles, you might have to titrate a little bit, but at the end you can just throw them all face.
Yeah. You can get some, weird turns, right, where you've got the ability to like attack face with some minions and then Hellfire, kill your own stuff to get enough corpses to like get them back to set up the 2 turn, right, to get the corpse to Corpsicle again the following. Similarly, right, Hellfire can be used for an extra tick of Horizon's Edge. in terms of like you send everything face, then Hellfire kills something, resets Horizon's Edge while also clearing away some of their board, maybe all of their board, to make sure the Horizon's Edge hits face. There's lots of little tiny details like that with the deck.
Yeah, if you're playing the list with Kerrigan, you can try to line up a Hydralisk turn and get a little bit more burn that way. That's some free burn that you can sometimes. You can't rely on it because you have to have the larva go into that, but sometimes the Brood Queen stick and you end up with a bunch of larva in your hand.
Yeah, I've been pleasantly surprised by Kerrigan.
Yeah, I was a little bit skeptical at first as well, because it's like, what's an 8 cost doing here? But if you don't have to have her, so it's okay if you lose her, and if you do get her, then she's quite good.
Plus, the hero power is also additional burn, and as is I believe the battle cry also goes face, right?
Yes,
it's not just the minions, so that's another 3 damage there. Plus, the hero power on top of that sometimes can just add a little bit of chip damage that you need to get yourself over the line.
Yeah, you definitely want to be sitting there thinking about the chip damage that you have. You can't always count the lethal because sometimes they're a Death Knight and they just keep giving themselves 10 health. But even then, as much as you can do, you can sometimes run a DK out of healing. And then they're just dead. Like, I know it seems impossible. It does happen sometimes.
And playing as the Death Knight, it happens a lot because it is a lot of value to just that you can't attrition away, right? And it can take a while, but like the 4 damage charge adds up after a while, and like they only have so many clears. Eventually, they're gonna run out, and then they're just gonna start taking damage to the face because they can't clear your boards. So it's a slog. I'm not going to say that it's not, but I will tell you, having been on the Death Knight side of that equation also quite a bit, I hate that matchup as a Death Knight because you just cannot run them out of value. It's almost impossible, and you just don't have enough. You don't have enough ways to deal with all of their things. You can deal with a lot of it, but if you don't have a clear win con, and Kill Jaden is not really fast enough most of the time. It's just one extra minion a turn that can't always get through a Taunt Reborn.
It has to be like a big Starship swing for the DK to win. Yeah, they're not going to win through attrition.
Well, that basically covers it, I think. Yeah, we have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at CoinConcede.com, where you can also find our contact info, our show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/CoinConcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinconcede.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/@CoinConcede. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. Write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Blue Sky at CoinConcede, and if you'd like some CC swag, head on over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Although, note on that, maybe hold off. Been having like shipping issues with the shop in terms of it taking a long time because presumably tariffs. I'm gonna try and work on porting the shop over to a new page. I don't know. We'll keep you posted on that. Like described, I am pretty busy the next couple of weeks, but hopefully I can get that up and running so that people can do any orders if you want something before the holidays. Yeah. Coin Concedes, quick coin concede to ASD Milkman, who coin conceded to me earlier today. And then just to the film The Big Short, which I had mysteriously not seen yet and recently watched. My goodness, that film is very, very good and also kind of devastating.
Given the subject matter, I'm not super surprised.
Yeah, if listeners, if you have not seen or heard about this film, it is about the 2008 financial crisis, specifically the handful of individuals, groups, really, who shorted the housing market, right, which everyone said was rock solid, and it was not rock solid. And sort of the people that saw what was coming and were still sort of surprised themselves at the degree of devastation and honestly recklessness on the part of the bankers. And yeah, it's a good film. Ryan Gosling, Brad Pitt, Steve Carell. I feel like there's another big name in there that I'm forgetting, but yeah, very, very good cast, very well acted, and very informative, right? Based on true story.
Christian Bale is the other
That's
one.
the one. Oh, he does such a good job, right? He plays a character who is very clearly on the spectrum or some kind of neurodivergent, right? I believe the real life person had a kid who was diagnosed autistic and was like, "Oh yeah, I probably am too." And I think
the my kid is autistic too. This whole house is neurodivergent AF pipeline. Yes, I'm well familiar with it.
Right. I mean, perhaps you can watch and let me know, but I thought Christian Bale did a pretty good job with the role. That is the character who sets it all off because he's the very first one to see this coming, because he looked at the bundles of like the individual mortgages on all these spreadsheets that were in these bond stocks. They have fun ways of explaining all the sort of not exciting nitty gritty stuff in the film. But yeah, and he just goes in and looks at the individual mortgages that make up these bonds and is like, oh, these are very delinquent. This is bad.
Sometimes neurodivergent people are more likely to notice when the groupthink is maybe wrong.
Yeah. I mean, other characters were like, what do you mean you read them? Nobody reads them.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of good portrayals of probably on the spectrum, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the Pit, the recent show about an ER, there's one character whose sister is explicitly said to be on the spectrum, and she is very heavily implied to also be on the spectrum. She's a new resident, but just played pitch perfect realistic. She doesn't have superpowers, but she's very competent in a, it's just part of her character. It's not like she is the token autistic character, but she is a fully realized character who also happens to probably be autistic. And that's just really refreshing. And it's positively portrayed without being portrayed as like a superpower that belies actual difficulty that can come with it. So shout out to that. It is a harsh show in certain ways, but it's also a hopeful show at the same time. If you're not going to be able to handle sort of grisly medical shots, though, don't watch that show. I have a friend who really can't handle that. I will also concede to Hidden Jester, who I did a coaching on Quest Warlock before I had actually played any Quest Warlock. And thank you for being my guinea pig for learning Quest Warlock. Hopefully these tips were we did all right. But hopefully these more mature tips will be helpful for you, Hidden Jester, and thank you for helping me figure out the deck as we were playing it along a week or two ago.
I'm going to concede to Otaku Sekai, which is a new little anime store that opened up in Worcester and that we got to finally go to for the first time. They were playing the K-pop Demon Hunter soundtrack when we walked in.
Nice. That's
always a good sign. And it seems like it did kill me a little bit inside when I think it was the owner basically said, "Oh yeah, that was from Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, that's from back when I was 8." And I went to go look at my burial plot again. But yeah, because Diamond and Pearl was what, 2005, 2004. So yeah,
sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, I was well out of college when Diamond and Pearl came out. So yeah, So despite making me age another couple of years by that comment, the store is really cool. It's nice to have stuff like that near us and not just like in Boston. So, because we don't get to Boston a lot, but we do get down to Worcester fairly often. So, because it is technically a city. And technically a city is the best kind of city, I suppose. But, you know, that's not how that quote works. But anyway, that's going to do it for us for this week. So keep calm and toss your cards into the rift. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
And concede.
All life must end. I yield for now. I concede. Well fought. I concede.
You win this one.
The victory is yours.
You have bested me.
I give up.
You win this one, friend. You win this time. I choose death.